Today, I'm coming to you from my bed because why not? Because authentically, I'm very tired and I'm just very into being authentic recently. So, hope you are too. It's important. Welcome to the Modest Goddess Podcast, episode 2. Dote up. So excited. Today, I want to just give my most authentic expression, and we're going to start there. About being an artist in this world, in this climate with social media and doing things for clout versus doing things because you are authentically expressing them as an artist. Just the experience that is, because it's a weird time out here to be an artist and just see things trending and just doing them because they're trending and we want to get a following, and we ultimately just want people to see our art and share what we're doing. And returning to that intention, always, constantly just returning to our intention as an artist is so important, because it's so easy to get caught up. And it happens to me. I think it happens to a lot of us. I think, going viral and like getting a following is extremely important, because what we're doing is channeling something from the universe to share with others. So of course, part of our purpose is to share. And, there's artists that don't share. It can be scary, it can be vulnerable. Some people, they're just doing it for them, their therapy, and that's cool. And then some of us feel the need to share. And for some of us, it's scary, like me. But I just want to share one thing, because it can be scary out here. There was about a 6-show run where my old project, we were on tour with Ott. And if you know Ott, he is kind of the grandfather of festival life. We love Ott. He's such a good dude. So, I got to ride in a car with Ott and hang out with him. And he said something that I will never forget. And he said, all you need is 1,000 people to really fuck with you. You need 1,000 people to just follow your journey, to support you, and then you'll be fine. And that is so much more of an attainable goal. Like, oh, okay, like I can get, I have more than 1,000 followers on Instagram. Granted, they don't show my post to my 1,000 followers, but it's a much more attainable goal. And it was a really special moment to hear him say that, somebody who's had all this experience, and I really respected it. Okay, next up. So I upgraded my list. I now have an iPad. It's not an iPad, it's like an Android pad, but we out here. It is the next level. Do not forget to like and subscribe, because it helps me, it helps you, it helps the world. We love that. This is going to be very ADHD podcast. I decided my most authentic self is ADHD AF, and I want to share that with you because that's who I am. All right, so basically, this has been like a passion project of mine for years. I've been working on a list called Modest Goddess, and I've been adding to this list for actual years. And I finally recorded, as you know, my first episode 2 weeks ago, or shared it 2 weeks ago rather. And I am so excited to finally, I just want you to understand the weight of this, because I have been working on this list for the podcast. I had this list for 4 years, just adding. I've got endless stuff on my list, and I think we should just go through it. Next topic, but versus and. I've been really trying to eliminate the word but out of my vocabulary as much as I can. Sometimes we need it, but when we say a whole statement, I don't know if you know this, that's why I'm sharing. I'm not woman-splaining. You say a whole statement and then you say but, it completely takes away the first statement. So I've tried to transition to using the word and, because it is a lot less all or nothing mentality, right? Like we can have this and we can have that. It doesn't need to be but and contradict the complete first statement. Okay, next topic. So from my work with somatics and somatic experiencing, I did a 6-week course with Holistic Life Navigation. If you don't know him, follow him. He's so cool. He actually used to live up by where I used to live. So I actually ran into him, which was so dope. I was like, I do not want to fangirl right now, but he was like, can we hug? And he suggested the hug. So that lets you know how cool of a person he is. In his course and from his teachings, he has a podcast, which I started with and really just helped me understand somatic intelligence. It's like our bodies store memories from, think about it. everything you go through, your body goes through. So your body is storing memories the same way your mind is, in a different way, but it's also storing the memories. And sometimes you don't even need to remember the memory as much as feel it in order to start working with it, healing with it, releasing it. So somatic experiencing is called. It's very, very important, and it's very, very beautiful. And it's a beautiful pathway if you have an addictive personality, because like we cover with food, we cover our feelings with drugs or alcohol, and once we start being able to experience the feel, it's not shaming those things. And that's what I loved about his work the most. He wasn't like, okay, well, if you are going to like go to chocolate because you feel stressed, don't not have chocolate, but just let yourself feel the feeling and where in your body it is. Like, let's example, you feel something in your heart, you sit with it, and then you do some somatic exercises, and then you have the chocolate. And that's what I loved about it. And it was just so realistic and so beautiful. And that's me promoting him. Love him. So what I learned is that self-sabotage is actually not real. And that really changed my whole perspective on self-sabotage, because self-sabotage is like we guilt and shame ourselves for not being able to do something. It's an awful cycle. You're just blaming yourself for something that you just don't have capacity for. And that's what I learned from him. He gave a really cool example about when he was on tour and he just would get so drunk that he had to stop touring, but it's because he didn't have capacity to tour. Sometimes we just don't have the capacity to do something, so we self-sabotage, but really we're just protecting ourselves from doing something that we just literally cannot hold. And I loved that. And that's that topic. Next up, I want to tell a story about jealousy, okay? Because I do not really get jealous anymore, ever. It's a very foreign feeling to me now. I used to get jealous a lot of people, of the way they looked or what they've accomplished as artists, especially. I used to get jealous a lot before I was polyamorous. So like 10 years ago or so, I was full of jealousy all the time. It was something I felt often. Then I became polyamorous for 8 years, and it really just, after about 2 years, it was like jealousy just like disappeared, not just, you know, in the polyamorous sphere, but outside of it. And I didn't experience jealousy ever again. It was so crazy. Not ever again, because I'm about to tell you the story. But I also want to share with you that you can transmute jealousy when you really think about what jealousy is. And let's get into it. So I was at a gathering of sorts, and I met this female who was also wrote raps, and she had a pretty big following on Instagram. And I was like, oh, damn, like, how'd you get that? And she was like, one of my videos just like went viral one day. And I was like, that's amazing. I was so happy for her. And also I was really like, I felt jealousy. For the first time in 8 years, I felt jealous. And I was like, what is this? It was so uncomfortable. I was just like this and I was into my somatic work at that point too. So I was like physically feeling jealousy and experiencing it and just wanting to transmute it, which as humans, we have the power to literally transmute everything. So I went into my body and I was like, what is jealousy even? And I used my brain and I was like, what is this feeling? And at the end of the day, I realized I wanted that. I wanted those followers on Instagram, and it became envy. And I was like, okay, how can I transmute that? Like, I envy her for having these followers, and I'm also really happy for her. She deserves every one of them. So I had the capacity to feel all of that and transmute it into inspiration. And I think this is where a lot of us get stuck in jealousy, because we don't realize that with work and dedication, we can transmute it into inspiration. And I immediately it disappeared from my body. Once I realized that, I was like, oh, I'm inspired. And also the knowing that I want that. That's a goal of mine, is to have people to listen to the words I say, to experience the things I channel. As I said before, as an artist, like I do feel, even though it's uncomfortable for me and scary sometimes, it's part of my duty to just like share what comes through. And to realize that I wanted that and I was inspired. And that is jealousy. That is jealousy, that is envy, and you can do it too. And I just wanted to share that moment with you. Next up, this is just a random thought. That show, Is It Cake, would be so much better if they had to smoke salvia first. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, next. Here's the next subject. It's about bidets. If you don't use a bidet, it's 2025, people. We're refining. We need bidets. Okay, if you go to Japan, there's a bidet on every toilet. Even in McDonald's, there's a bidet. Okay, it's not about being classy. It's about being clean. So if you've never used a bidet, you can, hashtag bidet squad. I am a very big promoter of bidets. I have one. I got it. I've been using a bidet for many years. When I go to places without bidets now, it just feels so gross. I think it's really important. So here's 3 tips if you've never had a bidet or used one. 1, start slow. You don't want to crank that thing, okay? I know bidets come in a lot of shapes, sizes, and colors. You can go on Amazon and get one that you just install into your toilet yourself for like $40, and it's actually pretty easy. Like, I'm not a plumber and I've done it. So yeah, it's got a dial on it, and you kind of feel like your own like pilot of your own butthole. You're an astronaut. And that's the control board. So start slow because water pressure in every home is different. Number 2, you got to move around a little. You know, you got to ride that wave. You start to really feel all the corners of your butthole. It's a very intimate experience, and I love that. Number 3, because there's so much moisture, you want to get a really good TP, a really good toilet paper. Some people just use wipes, and I love that for them. You know, I alternate, but Cottonelle is a very good brand. I wouldn't go Charmin. I know that like a lot of people would, but like Cottonelle's the way, the truth, and the light. Okay, next subject. Next time you're going to ask a man a question, just ask ChatGPT. That's what it's for. Don't give the men any more pride. No. This one's for especially the girlies. If you're in a relationship where somebody like shames you for speaking or tells you you're too loud or is embarrassed about something you said, likely that's like their problem and it's probably not you. And these are subtle forms of control that are abusive. And we aren't taught that. It's actually really crazy. So I don't know if you saw the show on Netflix. I think it's called Maid or The Maid, M-A-I-D. And she is in an abusive relationship where he never hits her, but he's abusive in every other way. He'll throw things near her or just throwing something in anger is abuse. And we're not taught that when we're young. We just think abuse is the physical, and it's not. It can be mental, emotional, putting you down constantly. That's abuse. You lose your voice. You lose your confidence. That's all abuse. It's forms of control. So a very subtle one is a boyfriend being upset with you for talking or saying something or being too loud. So just keep that in mind. That's a red flag. Know your red flags, ladies. That's another episode. Okay, let's do like 2 more topics. Next up. Okay, this one, I'm just going to like read straight from what I wrote. I probably wrote this many years ago, and I want to share it. When a woman starts to validate herself and stop looking elsewhere outside herself for validation, you can feel it. She becomes impossible to mess with. She attracts better humans because she has self-worth and becomes more selective about who she lets into her life. And usually this is a long process. It took years for me, and I'm still processing, always. And everyone's process is different in finding how we will find self-validation, and you'll naturally find the people to let into your life that encourage you and support you while you flourish. That's really important to that last line, because once you start becoming empowered, people are just going to fall away. They're not going to resonate with you anymore. You're not going to resonate with them. And you have to be okay with that. Some people aren't going to like the new you, but don't get discouraged by that. Likely they will be people that are kind of toxic or just people that don't know you that well in the first place, and they're just being judgmental. So if you're becoming empowered and people are falling away, that's a good thing. don't view it as a bad thing. It's a good thing. And I know from experience. And, just like a side note for the people that don't know, I changed my whole life up. I got divorced. I moved to Florida, right? I had so many people I talked to all the time in my old life when I lived in upstate New York. I had a whole community, a whole group of friends. I would say I talked to and hung out with maybe at least 20 people. Like I was popular. Anyway, I moved to Florida, and not saying that all these people were toxic, but I literally only talked to 4 people. 4. And one is my best friend from high school. That's my family. And shout out to the other 3 who I love so much. You know who you are. Anyway, that is the story about that. Should we go into one more topic? Okay, you convinced me. Let's do one more. Girl math is ordering a bunch of shit on Amazon. Please don't yell at me. Please. I love Amazon. And then returning it and feeling like you made money. Does that happen to anyone else? That happens to me all the time. I think that's all the topics for today. I was gonna do an episode about polyamory and the transition to monogamy and the things that I went through. And I was like, I'm just gonna do an episode that feels authentic to me, which is going down this list that I made over the years of all the beautiful things I want to share, the funny thoughts. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you resonated with it. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. It helps me. It helps you. I love you. Thank you for being here. See you in a couple weeks. Love you. Be well.